from a depth standpoint?
Well, we used 5, I believe. I think we used the starting 4 in our base package, and I think we used Ryan Watson was the other guy that we used quite a bit. That's kind of where we are right now. That's who we feel comfortable with. And then when you go to the nickel package, one of those guys comes out, so it gives you Danny E back to play one of the rush people, but that's probably where we are right now.
You know, with Danny E, I mean, is his development contingent on how much base defense that you're going to play here the next 5 games or so?
No, not at all. We got to play base. I mean, because we're going to see 2 tight end and 2 back, and we can't play quarter and nickel against all those heavy sets that we're going to see. Yeah, you got to be able to play base defense and be able to match size with size, and that's going to be key for us in these next 3 weeks or so.
I mean, do you feel like your offense has reached a point where it has an identity, or are you still working toward one?
Well, we talked about that last night. Ironically, we talked about we really feel like we are starting to develop an identity with the offense, who we are, what the things that we do well right now, and continue to build on those things, regardless to who we're playing and what fronts or coverages we're seeing. Here's who we are identity-wise, and here are the things that we're doing well. So let's continue to build on those things.
Is it all because of the quarterback change, or what else is contributing to that?
Before that. It actually happened before the quarterback change, when we started doing all the zone reads where we were pulling it and dropping it off in the flats and just trying to keep teams one half step behind us and just not fitting the gaps correctly because of all the eye candy that we're giving them. I think that's what helped us, and it's really starting to develop our identity.
You know, Minnesota leads or is tied with the Big Ten with 9 interceptions. What are they doing in the back half there to create those opportunities for themselves?
Yeah, I don't know how many they got there was one game they got 5 turnovers. I can't remember how they got them all, but they play a lot of man coverage, and they have a lot of extra help. So you might have a 3 wide out set playing against man-to-man coverage, and there might be 3 extra defenders that are roaming around. That's where they're getting their interceptions. Where a lot of teams will play man-to-man coverage and bring pressure, so they're on an island. These guys are not on an island.
Your favorite part of the week, your 5 questions about the opponent that you've already answered. Can you kind of break down Minnesota's offense? Obviously, they're a run-first offense. Just what's made their run game so effective?
Well, they're a good offensive line. They have a good offensive line and good tight. They have a lot of big tight ends that secure the edge to allow the ball to get outside. But they're going to run zone and they're going to run power, and they're going to hope you misfit the gap, and they're going to try to pound you as much as they can, try to wear you down. And as soon as you start to get nosy, they're going to pull it out and throw it over top of your head. They love to run post corner routes with the outside guys. And that's their kind of go-to route when they're in trouble. It's 3rd and long. Watch for the outside guys to run PC routes. So we got to do a good job of covering those.
From what you've seen on film, can they throw to win if they have to?
It's all part of their package. If you want to get into a shootout game, like they got into a shootout game with TCU, and TCU was throwing it all over the place, that's not what Minnesota's going to do well. Can they throw the ball? Yes, off the play action. But they're not going to drop back and throw it with you.
What about their defense then? They've been pretty stingy throughout the season in terms of scoring and yards both. What's made them pretty effective?
They play these really wide ends, and they play pretty much like us in terms of the secondary. They play 5 defensive backs, 2 linebackers most of the time. You put in 11 personnel or 10 personnel. And they like to funnel everything to the inside. They got these ends super wide. And they want you to run in between the tight ends and the tackles. And they just run to the ball. And they have their inside linebacker, number 5. He's on his toes before the ball's snapped because he wants to run downhill. And he's really good. I mean, he's a guy that sees the zone, the center will step, and he's flying downhill. So you can't spend a whole lot of times on your double team, because he'll run through the gap and make a tackle for a loss.
You already talked about the number of turnovers they've been able to force this year. You mentioned they play a lot of man. They've got some extra people back there. How big of a concern is that when you're throwing it around, that, you know, there's some loose guys running around in the secondary?
Well, we got to be smart of how and where to throw the football, and you got to know where the help, the extra rat guys are. And there's some things that they give you in the passing game that you can take advantage of, but and we better understand where those things are.
Coach, would you say that this is a pivotal weekend for you guys?
Oh, absolutely. I think this is a big game for us, as all of them are, but this is a huge game, and just, you know, we have to come up there and play our best football game of the season, and you know, I like our chances. Obviously, they're feeling good about themselves. They're 5-1 and playing good football, but we'll match up well up with them.
You play Michigan State like you did, Notre Dame, and handled Illinois like you did. Do you think it's just a matter of time before you start, or maybe get a win that you're not supposed to get, Nebraska or Wisconsin?
Oh yeah, we'll take each game as for what it is, and you prepare as hard as you can, like I say, every week, and you put your best foot forward, and hopefully we make enough plays at the end of the game, and we put them in the right positions to be able to make those plays, and it'll happen. Definitely happen for us. It won't be a surprise to us, at least the guys in our locker room.
Stacy was asking a little bit about chemistry. Comparing this year to last year, where would you see the biggest difference in team chemistry this year?
You know, our guys really enjoy being around each other. I think that's the biggest thing. They love hanging out together, and they're laughing and really enjoying each other's company.
What, if anything, was said to Austin about his throws he made falling down?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the question.
Okay, what, if anything, was said to Austin about his throws he made falling down?
His throws, he did what?
He made falling down.
Oh, falling down. Okay. Obviously, you want to throw that ball away. The first one we had took a huge sack. A huge intentional grounding penalty. He got caught off guard because one of our offensive linemen missed the block, so it got on him pretty quickly. He's just try to get that thing out of bounds or close to a receiver as he can. The other one, the second one, he threw for an interception. Obviously, he's got to do a better job of throwing that one away.
How are you sharing up your rush defense for David Cobb in the Minnesota ground game?
Again, we're trying to get as many hats in the box as we can to help stop that run, and we won't do a whole lot of blitzing, but we'll get some more and more bodies around the football.
Are you hopeful that BJ can give you something this weekend and at least make the trip and maybe give it a go?
You know, I'm hopeful, but I'm not sure it's going to happen. He's pretty sore. His shoulder's still pretty sore. His head's clearing up a little bit. He had a little bit of concussion symptoms, but his head feels pretty good, but he's having trouble right now lifting that shoulder.
Have you felt a frustration level with him from the ups and downs of this season? He scores the touchdown against Michigan State and then can't get out of the game without the injury.
You know, unfortunate for him and for us that he hasn't not been able to stay on the field consistently. He's a good player. He plays so hard. He throws his body around, and you know, he's an impact player. He really is, and we need to get him to stay healthy for some consecutive weeks.
Now that you've had a chance to watch Austin on film the last 2 weeks, just talk about his progression at the quarterback position and how comfortable he's getting back there.
Well, I think he's pretty calm. You know, that's the one thing that you like about him. He understands what we're trying to do, and he doesn't always do it perfectly, but you know he knows exactly what to do. And I think a lot of guys were feeding off of Austin right now on both, not only the offense, but both sides of the ball. And I think that's why there's so much confidence, you know, when we get down 2 touchdowns or 3